Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads it must converse is the channel. Thanks for coming by. This might be a kind of a strange video to some, but it's ultimately going to be a very interesting video. This is going to be a claim that Gabriel Garcia Marquez, in his book 100 Years of Solitude, which is a landmark work and a very strange work. Why it's doing what it's doing, what the story is, why things are working out the way that they are, is something that it can be endlessly kind of analyzed and speculated on and things like that. I'm gonna make the claim that Gabriel Garcia Marquez uses the Kabalistic Tree of Life, which is this glyph right here. It is a fundamental part of Kabbalah. It is a framework for all of Kabbalistic ideas to kind of be encompassed within. It grows out of sacred geometry, and it is essentially a cosmology. That's what the Tree of Life here is a cosmology. And I think that Gabriel Garcia Marquez uses the Tree of Life as a framework for his story, 100 Years of Solitude. This came to my attention, and I started kicking this around after, anybody who has come in contact with 100 Years of Solitude knows that at the beginning of the book, we have the Buendia family tree. That's what we see. First thing before we read even the first words, you have the Buendia family tree. And this is pretty bare bones. You get a good enough idea of who they are, but there's a lot of characters missing out of here that actually do take part in the family. This is just all of the kids of the family and how they work out, and characters like Gaston, for example, who is Amaranta Ursula's husband, who they never had any kids, is not on there, and things like that. So Una over at the Codex Cantina is actually reading this along with us, and in our group he posted this picture right here. This is a more comprehensive family tree that is used in 100 Years of Solitude. And what drew my attention, besides just that it's wonderful for keeping track and kind of looking at how the family is working out, it lets you kind of postulate why things are happening a little bit more once you're reading, and when you're like in the thick of it, and say you're like right here in the storytelling, to actually see all this helps you out a lot. And by the time you get down here, things are completely insane. So it really helps to have something like this where you can say, okay, well, this is who that person is, this is who that person is, and how they relate to each other. Because I said in our discussion that it seems like these characters are not exactly begetting each other like human beings do. That these characters are more like archetypes and archetypal powers, and that they are evolving out of each other. They are coming through and out of each other in a way. So what really kicked me into thinking this way about the Tree of Life with 100 Years of Solitude is the numbers here along the side. We have 7 generations of the Buendia family before the story is over, and I think that is a key. So I'm gonna do my best, and I'm going to give you just the barest bones, just exactly what I need to make this claim. So those that have experience with Kabbalah are going to be in a much more easy place with this discussion, and those that have read 100 Years of Solitude, of course. So, like I said before, this Tree of Life is actually a cosmology as well as like a compendium of ideas. It is a cosmology. And above the tree of life, before the tree of life is manifest, there's infinity. And there's three types of infinity. There's infinity, there's infinite light, and there's infinite nothingness. And those things are everywhere, all and all encompassing. It's just light, nothing, and infinite. Not space, not time, just infinity itself. And then there is a point. There is one point that becomes manifest. And it has no space, and it has no time, and it's just a point. And that point is the top of the tree of life there. It's called Keter. Now, there is nothing to define that by. It is a point. And we can look at that like a singularity. The singularity. If you are scientifically minded, then that is like the singularity from which the beginning of the universe springs, right? So we have a singular point of singularity, and out of that comes active energy. So energy happens, expansion happens, things like that. Now, that doesn't create any space, but it does start time going. So that energy, that active energy that springs out of the point is the second. That is Hokmah. So the second point there is the active principle. That's a male active, not male as in gender, but active, male as in energy. So with this, when I say male, I mean active. And I'll probably try to use active, use that word more, because gender does not play a part in this. We see a lot of gender role fuzziness and reversals and things like that in 100 Years of Solitude. It's obvious that Gabriel Garcia Marquez is, the genders are not necessarily anything that's going to give you what to define what's going on by. So that we have the first 2 points, and then there's this activity. The second point is just this activity, this outward expansion, this motion, this doing, something happening, and there's time, there's movement. And then at some point there is a boundary. So in the infinity, in the infinite space, there is a boundary made. And that boundary is the third point. Binah is the name of it. So in the geometry, it's like this. Some will remember this from Dr. Manhattan, right? So Keter is this point. The line is Hokmah, and the rim, there doesn't need to be a point here. The rim, the boundary, is Binah. So we have the 3, 1, 2, 3 in Kabbalah, right? Now, through a series of a transformation, you can see that there's a circle made by these 4 here. And those 3 simply reflect themselves. And that makes the top 6 points on the Tree of Life. Now, what do they represent in 100 Years of Solitude? Well, that top point, that unknown, that infinity is the magician, is the Magus. And in this Tree of Life is Melquiades. And it is Melquiades. Melquiades is a figure that comes by, that has unlocked all knowledge. He is immortal. He brings knowledge and wisdom and all kinds of things to the town of Mocando. He is the magician. He's the Magus that knows all, that is bringing knowledge to the town. And he brings knowledge to the Buendia family. They're the founders of the town. And Jose Arcadio Buendia wants to appropriate the knowledge that Melquiades is bequeathing on the town and use it to gain this or that. They brings magnets, and he wants to find, pull gold up out of the ground with the magnets. Well, Melquiades says very quickly, you can't do that, because it doesn't work like that, because Melquiades is the Magus. He knows what's up. And I'm using the Thoth Terror to show you this just because I like the Thoth. But Melquiades is the Magus. And he says, that doesn't work. That's not going to work. But you're free to make your own choice and to make your own way in the world, right? To Jose Arcadio Buendia. Jose Arcadio Buendia is the fool. All of his things, all of his endeavors don't pan out. They don't work. He's free to make all the mistakes that he wants to make, but he is the one that goes through the journey. We're all the fool, We're all the fools. The fool is the being that goes on the journey through the tree of life. Melquiades stays, the magician stays at the top. This path stays up here at the top. The fool goes through the entire process. So Jose Arcadio Buendia is the fool. And Ursula is the high priestess. So the high priestess is this path going straight from the top to this second point. So the female energy, the high priestess, Ursula, is the house, is the space. And the house in 100 Years of Solitude is referred to as a womb more than once. And Ursula is nothing if not solid, and a mother, and a nurturer. She even mothers more than just her own family. So she is this this space, and that's what the female energy is. It is space. Where I said at the beginning, that active energy that springs from Keter starts time. Well, Binah, the first opposite of the other side, the female energy, as opposed to the male energy, the female energy is space, and it is a place that just has potential, has unlimited potential. So we have our top three, and then the next level, the next level is Jose Arcadio Buendia's and Ursula's two sons, and they are Jose Arcadio, and they are Colonel Aureliano Buendia. And these are the next level on the tree. It is mercy on one side and severity or judgment on the other. And we see time and time again, I believe that I would put Jose Arcadio on the side of mercy and Colonel Aureliano Buendia on the side of judgment or severity. Because time after time, Jose Arcadio, or Colonel Aureliano Buendia, is making judgment after judgment after judgment based on nothing but pride. It is said explicitly that he's not fighting for principle. He's not fighting for anything except his own pride. He has made a choice and then fighting for that choice to the death of many, many, many hundreds, if not thousands of people, and ultimately to his own end. And that's just where we're at. This is the level on the tree, is that place where Colonel Aureliano Buendia is exemplar. He is the finest example of that level that we're on right there. The next level below, that is actually Pilar Tenera is a side character, not part of the Buendia family themselves, but she births Arcadio and Aureliano Jose. And those are two kids, two boys that are actually sons of Jose Arcadio and Aureliano, respectively, but both by the same woman, both by Pilar Tenera. And they are two that I think just signify that next step and how it's keeping on working out, and the next reflection that happens. Because you see, the top three reflect to get your bottom three in the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. But the next step is actually just a lowering. And so that kind of thing it's not a reflection of anymore. It's not a reflection. It's actually an inversion. And on the Tree of Life, it looks as if it's like the same but dropped, but it's not. It's like an inversion, and everything at this point in the story becomes inverted. We have a few characters. One is the twins, and the twins in Kabbalah are represented by the sun. You can see the twins there. And the twins are Aureliano Segundo and Jose Arcadio Segundo. Those two twins are constantly flipped back and forth. Ursula had thought from early in their life that they had either been misnamed or that they have actually, through playing games and tricking people as to who is who and this kind of thing, that they actually switched their names and were unaware of it. But we have that kind of flip. We have that kind of inversion. And it's driven home in this part of the story time and time and time again. Along with Jose Arcadio and Aureliano Segundo, we have a character named Remedios the Beauty. And Remedios the Beauty is, I think, a very telling character, because that center point right here between where the inversion happens is called beauty. It is beauty. It is the place of beauty. In the cards, it is represented by art. And art, all art, even the art of speaking, the art of any art, music, just life as art. And Remedios is beauty. Remedios is an undeniable beauty. Remedios's beauty has caused the death of person after person after person in 100 Years of Solitude, because they can't handle it and this kind of thing. And Remedios the Beauty ultimately ascends. She doesn't die. She ascends a virgin. She ascends a young woman. And she flies off into the sky. She actually has a physical ascension. So the two twins keep going and doing their thing. And at that point, we're here on the Tree of Life, right? With the two twins. And we're really here close to the end, because Arcadio and Jose Segundo and Remedios the Beauty are actually here at level 4. So we've already gotten to here's where the twins are and the Remedios the Beauty. And at this point in the story, after Remedios's ascension, all hell starts to break loose in the town. We've already had things like the train showing up. And I think the train, as a purely destructive force, is seen in Kabbalah as the tower. a purely destructive force that actually destroys everything in its wake. Because the train brings a company called the Banana Company. And that is where we get bogged down into where we're just totally becoming nothing but material looking. And on the Tree of Life, it's becoming nothing but materialistic mind states. We're already in duality, but duality that is antagonistic to itself, and it's getting pretty bad. And in 100 Years of Solitude, that's when we have 4 years of rain, 4 years of storm. We have a destructive storm that pretty much destroys everything, and except for the most essential of people that are never going to leave Mocando anyways. And the Buendias are of course part of that, but Amaranta Ursula and Jose Arcadio have actually gone away. Jose Arcadio, the next Jose Arcadio, who is the son of Aureliano II, one of the twins, he's been groomed by Ursula as a priest. And he goes away to become a priest. And Amaranta Ursula it goes away to Belgium for school. And she goes away. She stays away. She stays away through the whole storm, 4 years of rain, and the destruction of the banana plantations, and basically the destruction of Mocando. But then she comes back, and she brings her husband, this Belgian gentleman named Gaston. And they move right back into the house, and they start to rebuild the house, right? They move in. Aureliano is there, and he is doing nothing but working on the parchments of Melquiades. All these words, all these parchments that are indecipherable, but that is his life's work. That's all he's really doing. And Amaranta Ursula and Aureliano actually begin a relationship. They begin to have an affair. And Gaston, I don't think it's very clear if he knows it and doesn't care, or if he's just so aloof that he doesn't know. But he up and leaves. He leaves because of business, is so it's said, but he leaves them to it, and they are completely overcome by their passions, and they are just going wild in a broken down house where everything is being completely destroyed, and everything is, the house is getting taken over by nature. They're setting down quicklime on around the thresholds of the door so that ants don't come in, because ants are taking over the entire house. Things like that. And where we're at when Amaranta Ursula, who is Aureliano's aunt, actually, and Aureliano have their unbridled, uncontrollable, passionate relationship. We are here. And this is Yesod. And that part of the Tree of Life is actually countenance, which is self-control. And that's what that represents, and that's what it is. So I think that it's shown very well that is that is what Gabriel Garcia Marquez is knowingly doing with this book, because the very end, the very last of the Tree of Life, the points here, is the final the final Aureliano. You see, Aureliano and Amaranta Ursula, who are number 6 here, have one child, Aureliano. And I'm not going to say what happens to Aureliano, because read the book, but suffice to say that it's not good. And what does it represent? Well, it represents the death of the spiritual, magical nature of everything that is in this book. The bottom, and by going from the top to the bottom and getting there, is the complete death of the what was before. And I think that when it comes down to it, it is suffice it to say that it is moving from a spiritual plane. The tree of life is moving from pure spirituality, pure spirit itself, moving into materiality. That's what it is. And at this bottom point, you're fully in the material. Start off in the purely spiritual. And as far as the 100 Years of Solitude works out, that means the complete destruction of everything that Melquiades and Jose Arcadio, Buendia, and Ursula Buendia stood for. You know what I mean? Ursula says all the time, had said all the time, these kind of things of, don't forget, that there's magic in the world. This is the way that the world's going. It's going to destruction. And this is just another, pointing to that happening. And so I think that there is a whole lot more that I could say about this, but I feel like I've done a good enough job to get you thinking if you're interested in this kind of angle, because it's there. Any thoughts or comments or anything, I would appreciate it. Let me know, BookTube. Thank you. Bye-bye.